Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 17th of June, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar, holding on to that strength there on the short-term chart. Medium term, we're still a bit bearish there, but long-term, we are in this slight uptrend, but not a lot of action there for the dollar at the moment. Remembering this is my long-term, my medium-term, and my short-term charts. If you've done our training course, you'll remember very much how that works. Looking at the euro, of course, we are therefore bearish on the short-term chart, bullish on the medium term, and long-term we still have work to do. That high that we saw in March for the euro is really the level to watch, and that's at about 115, so that's the key level. And we do still have these big downside targets hanging over the euro. So with all of this big finance events going on, the Federal Reserve, everything, we shouldn't be surprised to see some very big moves in currencies on the very long term. But for the moment, it's quiet, and we're seeing that in the yen as well. We can't we're flat on the yen, so a lot of uncertainty there. That's just we're sitting at that level. Sterling sitting at 125.67 against the dollar, short-term bearish, medium-term bullish, long-term bearish. So there's a mixed picture really in a lot of places. And we look at the euro sterling rate, we're sitting at 111.50, and again just short-term looking a little bit better on the sterling chart, but medium-term and long-term we are still looking bearish there. Against the Swissy, we're sitting at 119.38. That's below the 120 level. And against the Aussie dollar, seeing that Aussie dollar continuing to strengthen here against sterling, so we've gone from 208 to 181. Remembering that's the amount of Aussie dollars that sterling buys, therefore sterling is falling. Looking at Bitcoin, we're sitting at 9,480, very much in this range at the moment, about 8,000 to 10,000, stuck in that range. So nothing dramatic happening there. Looking at the S&P 500 index, we were up nearly 2% yesterday, so the recovery continues. Looking at these weekly candles, last week was a big down week. This week is a recovery week, but we've got to make new highs above that level. And of course, that's the level that we saw in June, and we haven't got back to that level in Feb. The NASDAQ 100 was up 2.2%, so that was pretty strong as well. And the Dow is up nearly 3%. So we're seeing very big moves here, but we are really stuck in the cloud on that weekly chart. And we do have downside targets now, having locked that downside column. So if we make new lows below last week's low, then that would be significant. We would expect to go lower. The futures are up 0.75% on the S&P future this morning, and the Nasdaq E-mini up 0.67%. So we are seeing sentiment still driving forward. The FTSE future up 0.8%. And in the UK market, we're seeing a 0.75% rise, and the mid caps up just under 1%. The DAX in Germany up 0.6%. This chart's still looking pretty good on the medium and long term, but the short term we just have work to do to get back. All these markets need to get back above the June high. That's what we really need to see for the recovery to continue. And if we look at the CAC Quarante, that's up 0.2%. Tokyo was down 0.45% overnight, so it's the one market that didn't go up. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong was up over 0.5%, and in China, the Shanghai Composite down 0.1%. Still have these very long-term targets hanging over Chinese stocks, so we just do need to watch for any fear setting in that market. And the Sensex in India up 0.6%, but a long way from where it was previously, so it's got a lot of work to do to recover, not even through on the medium-term chart. The Aussie market up 0.8%. Looking at gold, we're sitting at 17.19. We're holding this 1700 level, but we've got long-term upside targets, still looking pretty good. Short-term, we're just a little bit flat and just middling to bearish. Silver is up slightly this morning, but not enough to change the short-term bearish picture there. And if we look at US 10 yields, we're sitting at 0.75%, so a little bit lower there. Just looking at the energy mix quickly, we've got Brent crude up this morning, just under 1%. We've got to make a higher high against that June high. That takes us back to this sort of $42 level, and so we need to get back above there, and we do have targets to 42.25 and 42, so we look like we're set to go back and test resistance. We've got downside targets and upside targets, so it's quite a mixed picture, but we are in short-term bullish mode above the cloud here. We're not quite there yet on the medium-term chart. WTI is up a little bit less this morning. We were neutral on crude, on Brent crude this morning. We were a bit more bearish on WTI, but that picture is looking a little bit better. So earlier this week, to our corporate clients, we were less bullish for the week. Looking at US NatGas, we had really big falls yesterday. We've found support at this 160 level. That seems pretty critical. That's the level that we saw back in May, but as we take out these lows, that would be a failed recovery. So US NatGas flattening after a long downtrend, but at the moment it's a little bit worrying. If we make new lows below the March low, then we've got potentially big falls ahead. Coal is down 0.6%. Emissions and just heading back into bearish territory. Emissions up 1%, but really just struggling to break that high we saw earlier in June. Still looking in fairly bullish mode, and we did activate this downside target 21.73. So a bit of a mixed picture here. Market's quite hard to call at the moment, and if we're looking at MBP, UK gas, we're down 3% this morning, but again looking quite bullish. This is the one chart that we were quite bullish on at the start of the week for clients, and TTF. Dutch gas actually just breaking away a little bit there as well. German power also just breaking into new highs, but still has work to do to break out. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.